Okay, so today's lesson is part 2 of writing expressions. We are going to talk about what expressions look like when we have an exponent. And we're going to talk, the most important thing today is probably writing two-step algebraic expressions, because we will be doing two-step equations, word problems, and to be successful at that, you need to know how to write two-step algebraic expressions, which your textbook doesn't actually cover. So this is pretty important. And also writing algebraic expressions using grouping symbols such as parentheses. So that's also pretty important. Okay, first is exponents.
Hillary.
Okay, first is exponents. We have a to the b power. We're not going to do a lot with exponents this year, but we will go through this. A is the base, and b is the power. So we read this as a to the b power. So some special exponents that we're going to see a little more often. X to the second power, we say that as x squared. When we have something to the second power, that means x squared. Some of you who have had me for the math rotation class in the first marking period, remember when we did the formula for the area of a circle, we did pi times the radius squared. That means you multiply the radius times itself. So when you square a number, if I had 4 squared, I would do 4 times 4. X to the third power is called x cubed. And we haven't used this in any practical way. Later on when you're learning, for example, the volume of a cube. If you had a cube and you wanted to know how much space was inside the cube, the formula for that is volume equals s cubed, which means you take the side length of the cube and you multiply it by itself 3 times. So if I had a cube and its side length was 2, I would do 2 times 2 times 2, which is 8. So I would know that there were 8 unit cubes that would fit inside that cube. And we will talk about that again when we get to geometry, but I just wanted to kind of introduce you to this a little bit. Okay, so if we have an expression, a written expression like this, a number squared, you're going to turn this into an algebraic expression by just saying n to the second power. Okay? If we have a number to the 4th power, we write n or some other variable with a little number 4 on top. Halen, how would I write a number to the 8th power? N, a little 8, good. How about a number cubed, Johnny?
That would be A.
Okay, he wants to use an A, that's fine. And what power?
That'd be A like 2.
No, 2 is for squared. Cubed is. Thomas, you want to help him out?
Is it 6?
No? Caleb?
3.
It's a 3. It's on, we just did that on the notes. Let's look back a second. Anything to the 3rd power is cubed. So when you see cubed, you want to go to the 3rd power. Did you guys all get this written down correctly? Okay. All right, now, most important part of our lesson today, in my opinion, is two-step algebraic expressions. Two-step expressions contain 2 operations. We have to do 2 different things. So we're not just going to add or just going to subtract. We might multiply and add, or divide and add. So some examples. We have 6 more than twice a number. So we've got 2 things going on. We have 6 more. What does that word tell us to do, Jace? If it's 6 more than something, what are we going to do?
Add.
We're going to add. So we have 6 more than twice a number. How do we write twice a number? Volunteer? Mackenzie?
6 wait.
Just focus on this part, twice a number. How would we write twice a number?
6 times 6.
No, we don't know the number. What do we do to the number? Forget the 6 for a minute. how would we just write twice a number? Nick, wanna go?
Square.
Not squared.
Cube.
It's not, it doesn't involve exponents. Thomas, what do you think?
6 plus 6.
Forget the 6, guys, just twice a number. Jenna?
Times 2.
Times 2. So it would be like 2n. So now we have 6 more than twice a number, so we have 6 plus 2n, or you could write 2n plus 6, and that would be okay. Okay, next one says the difference between 8 and a number divided by 7. So first we have this word difference. Thomas, what is that telling us to do?
Subtract.
Subtract. So we're going to subtract 2 things. What are the 2 things that we're going to subtract, Sammy?
8,
Okay, so we're going to have 8, and we're going to subtract what?
7.
Well, no, what does it say here? And,
Number divided by 7.
so how do we write a number divided by 7? Forget the difference between 8 part. How would we write an expression for a number divided by 7?
7 over 5.
It goes the other way.
Same, you don't want
N
Thomas.
over 7. So n over 7. Guys, too much extra chatting. Eyes up here. Okay, Caleb. 5 fewer than the square of a number. What does the word fewer tell us that we're going to do?
Subtraction.
Subtraction. But since it says fewer than, we're going to subtract 5 from something else. Okay, so let's figure out what that something else is. It's 5 fewer than the square of a number. Jonathan, how would we write the square of a number? This does involve exponents. Do you remember which exponent represents squaring?
No.
It's on the first page of your notes that we just did.
The first number
Jenna?
is the football number.
And the square 2.
The 2, good. So n squared. So 5 fewer than the square of a number is n squared minus 5. Hannah, quotient of a number cubed in 4. What does the word quotient tell us that we're going to do? Divide, good. What are we going to divide? What 2 things? A number cubed and 4. So we're going to have a number cubed on top and a 4 on the bottom. Spencer, how do we represent a number cubed? A little 2 represents square. Think about a cube. How many dimensions does a cube have? Halen?
3.
3. A cube has 3 dimensions, so it's n
And 3.
cubed. You guys need to remember that squared is 2. But think of a flat square. If you just draw a square on the board, right? This has 2 dimensions. It has length and width. If I draw a cube has 3 dimensions. So we use the little number 3. Okay, that might help you remember it. The next slide are 4 for you to try. So I'm going to pause this. I want you to try those, and then we'll talk about them. Okay, I guess they're not numbered. First one, Ben. 8 more than the cube of a number. How would you write that?
8 plus n cubed.
And how do we say n cubed? What little number do we write?
N 3.
N with a 3. Good. 8 plus n cubed. Okay, 6 less than the product of 8 and a number. Jenna.
8 n minus 6.
Good. 8n minus 6. This less than, the word than is telling us it's less than something else, so we have to start with the something else. Nick, the sum, okay, question?
What about 6 minus 8n?
No, it can't be 6 minus 8n because that's saying something completely different. Subtraction is not commutative, we can't just change them around. Okay, Nick, the sum of half a number and 1.
N cubed. Oh, n squared plus 1.
Okay, half a number is not the same thing as squaring
Plus
them.
1.
So I agree with your plus 1, because you got that from the sum. But how would you write half of a number? Doesn't involve exponents. It's like what we did yesterday. What does it mean? If I asked you for half of 4, what's half of 4? 2. How did you find that out? And how do you know what half of it is? Not exactly. Anybody? Can anyone tell me how to write? Caleb? You could write it as division. How else, Mackenzie?
I did 1 plus 1/2.
Okay, so you did 1/2 or 1/2. We could write 1/2 n. That would be half of a number. Or you can write n over 2. You can do n divided by 2. That also means half. Olivia, 2 less than 4 times the number.
2 minus 4 and 4.
N4?
4n.
4n. You always want to start with 4n, and it's 2 less than, Olivia. So we want to start with the 4n and subtract the 2. Brian? Okay, question. Mackenzie?
For the sum of half a number and one, do we do 1 plus n?
Yes, you could write that one the other way. That would be fine. Okay, last part. Stay close. We're writing algebraic expressions with grouping symbols. This is a little bit trickier. Do these expressions mean the same thing? We have 2a plus b, and we have 2 parentheses a plus b. Well, you guys know back when we did distributing, what if we distributed this 2 to the a and the b? What would we have? Anybody want to volunteer? Jenna?
2a plus 2.
We'd have 2a plus 2b. That's not the same thing as 2a plus b, so they're not the same. The first one we would write as 2 times a plus b, or the sum of the product of 2 and a and b. This one we would write very differently. We would say 2 times what's inside of the parentheses. And what's inside of the parentheses? How could we say this? Sammy?
2 times parentheses A and B.
Okay, but when we're writing expressions, we actually don't use the word parentheses. We need to say what's happening in the parentheses. Jenna?
2 times a plus
We could, that ends up looking too much like this one. It's not clear. Thomas, idea?
2 times the sum of a and b.
There we go. If we say 2 times the sum of a and b, we know that we're going to have to find the sum before we can multiply by 2. So that's a better way to say that. So when we have the product of 5 and the sum of a and b, product means that we're going to multiply. The 2 things that we're going to multiply are 5 and the sum of a and b. So I'm going to have 5 times, I'm going to use parentheses to show multiplication, the sum of a and b. So I'm going to do a plus b, close parentheses. What about the next one? The sum of a and b divided by 10. How do you think I would write that one? Volunteer. Mackenzie?
A, parentheses, A plus B, parentheses, divided by 10.
Okay, but how do you want me to show division?
Like division?
But I don't really like the division symbol for algebra. What's the better way to show division?
I don't know.
Here?
Fraction?
As a fraction. So we could use a fraction symbol and we could put a 10. Okay, so we don't, you have the right idea, Mackenzie. I just want to get away from using that division sign. You actually don't even need to put the parentheses up here. You could just write a plus b over 10 because a fraction bar does work as a grouping symbol. What about the next one? The sum of 3 and x, comma, cubed. So this comma is telling me I have to find the sum of 3 and x and then cube it. Anybody want to say what you think that would look like? Thomas, you want to try it?
If you do it like 3 plus x and x cubed.
Well, no, it's not x cubed. It's the sum of 3 and x
So
cubed.
would you put the cube to the side like
I want to cube this whole thing. How can I show
So,
that?
oh wait, you put the parentheses on,
Uh-huh.
and you put like a little cube.
Yeah, that's it. Very good. Okay, there are 3 for you to try, and we don't have a lot of time left. So as you're trying these 3, I'm going to pass out your
What are
homework.
we doing next?